Hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy Friday. TGIF. We made it. Another week is over. I don't know how about you, but I feel like this week just flew by like this. I'm still like recovering from the DNC and covering the DNC. So it's again Friday. And what a week. So tonight we're going to dissect everything. So I have receipts. I have videos, I have description, I have readouts, I have proclamation upon proclamation upon proclamation. If you follow me on Twitter, you know President Biden went wild today with proclamations, like 6, 7, 8 proclamations. So, but we're gonna keep it short. It's not gonna be boring or anything. But I want to update you, of course, on the actual news. So, thank you for joining me tonight. If you're here for the first time, very, very welcome. Please share your feedback, ask questions, comment. If there's anything I say that contradicts whatever you know, comment. I gladly stay corrected if it's all true, okay? So again, happy Labor Day weekend. If you already started your weekend tonight, thank you for spending it with me. A lot of clips today, a lot of last readouts, more clips. So, but let's start with some good news. Today, the first thing first, White House announced some best news. If you are traveling this Labor Day weekend, then I have some good news for you. So, gas prices are dropping. As a record number of Americans travel this Labor Day weekend, says the White House, they're seeing lower prices at the pump, with gas prices down nearly 50 cents since last year. President Biden and Vice President Harris are fighting to lower everyday cost with record energy production, including record oil production, helping gas prices reach their lowest level in 3 years. So I posted this on Twitter, and a bunch of you started commenting like, okay, Northwest, I think it was Georgia, 2 something, North Carolina, So if you are experiencing that, please let me know. Tag me. I'm going to tag the White House because I think we need to spread some good news and joy as well. Even if you're not traveling and you see it at your location, tag me. So let them know that we see what work they put in. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Rose. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Rosie Marie. Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's continue. As always, I first stick with President Biden, and then we move on to everybody else, okay? Because Commander-in-Chief. Okay, so President also produced a report on the progress on inflation and economic challenges. Today's report indicates significant progress with inflation at 2.5%, the lowest in over 3 years. Okay, to all the MAGAville there on the far right. Hello, lowest it has ever been in 3 years. Wages have increased by $1,400 since the pandemic, outpacing price growth. However, challenges remain as prices are still high. Efforts to address this include building 3 million new homes, expanding prescription drug cost caps, and investing in energy production, resulting in lower gas prices. In contrast, congressional Republicans propose tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations, which experts warn could worsen inflation and negatively impact middle-class families. The administration opposes these proposals. So, again, big news. Another big news, 2.5% inflation. And by the way, I saw so much, I don't know how about you, but somehow I'm flooded with MAGA posts on Twitter more than ever. And I think it's going to get worse as we're nearing the election. It's just going to be this. Like we really had to tap each other on the shoulder to read each other's tweets and stuff. But, so many people are commenting, like Congress people. Oh, the inflation is so high. And Kamala Harris yesterday, she said she's opposing fracking, but the inflation is still high. Can we just put one thing aside the other, right? One is inflation, one are the overpriced products because the prices went up after the pandemic. Now the companies can afford lower pricing, but they don't want to because we already are paying higher prices. So it takes dignity to lower it. Right? And so that's what the Biden-Harris administration is going to do, not to count on somebody's dignity, but to push them and legislate them to put the prices down, right? And the gas prices, of course, we first had the pandemic, nobody was traveling, nobody needed gas. Remember standing in line for that piece of toilet paper and all that kind of stuff? And then people started traveling. And then the war happened in Ukraine and the sanctions. And who was sanctioned? Russia, who's exporting oil, right? So the entire situation worldwide had to shift. Germans had to suffer and regroup as much as we had to regroup. So, like, start understanding where things are coming from. Google it, right? Not to you guys, but for those who are commenting and are saying some insanity. Okay, the gas prices might have skipped my state then. Arizona, yeah, maybe. I live in NC, is $3.19 gallon right now. It's been going down. Okay, $3.25 here one day. Somebody commented from Georgia. It was 2 something. Like, you can look at my Twitter. Maybe this person will be here soon. So next thing, what I want to share is, you know that Kamala Harris has graduated from HBCU, right? And so now it's the back to school season. And so what the Harris and Walz campaign did, they created a website where they welcomed students to historic Black colleges, right, HBCUs, and they featured a letter from the most prominent, or one of the most prominent folks that studied there, which is Kamala Harris. So here you see the letter, right? So the letter welcomes, so 2 of the things that have had a profound impact on who I am today, says Kamala Harris, are my incredible mother and extended family who helped raise me and my time at the Howard University. At an HBCU, you're empowered to be anything and do everything without excuse. And so it goes on. If you're subscribed to the newsletter, which I just hinted here, by the way, free, there I featured the letter yesterday. You can read it in full, and also tonight everything will be much in detail about what we're talking about. And yesterday I already analyzed the rally in yesterday in Georgia, in Savannah, Georgia, that Kamala Harris, where she delivered remarks, as well as their interview on CNN. And I have the clips here for you, so that's what we're going to focus tonight as well. But if you're receiving emails, I highly encourage you, you already have that, okay? So you can literally go with me, okay? So please go ahead. And if you're subscribed and you're supporting, thank you. Okay, so also what was announced today, and this is something for the folks in Florida, for those who are interested in democracy, okay? So Team Harris-Walz announced Reproductive Freedom Bus Tour across battlegrounds, and it starts in Florida. So 50-plus stops tour kicks off with Senator Amy Klobuchar in Trump's backyard in Florida, where a near total Trump abortion ban recently went into effect. And by the way, we're going to talk about Trump. Yeah, I promised you. If there's something new, I'll show you clips. I have 3. Okay, the rest is the rest. Today was back to basics. Yesterday he said, oh, you know, government should pay for the IVF. Today he said he's going to vote against the bill that would allow abortion in Florida. So, and then they say Kamala Harris is changing her mind. Excuse me? Okay, so second gentleman, Douglas Emhoff, Mrs. Gwen Walz, which is, of course, the wife of Tim Walz, Republicans for Harris-Walz, reproductive rights storytellers, elected officials, and celebrities will join stops along the route to talk about all that's at stake this November. So the details will be in tonight's email. So there you're going to find all the breakdown, who's going to be there, what are they focusing on, so you can calmly read, and you have your Labor Day weekend to do so, okay? So I don't want to bother you here that much with that. So, of course, they were on the road yesterday in Georgia. So let's just catch up a little bit. First, they have visited a couple of small businesses, Black-owned businesses. Also, the CNN interview was at a restaurant, which is a Black-owned small business and restaurant, which was really welcoming, right? So they're not just spending time with real people, having real conversations, which I have some videos to prove you of, but also highlighting those businesses, highlighting restaurants, because otherwise we would have never heard from them, right, and of them. So first they were at the Dottie's shop. So Dottie or Dottie, That's the shop. It's a one-time sort of. That's what Kamala Harris said. So this is a one-stop shop, and so she welcomed or the owner of Dottish Market in Savannah welcomed her. She was holding a basket. She picked it out. She wanted to buy it. She also bought some other stuff and had some wholesome conversation there. That's Kamala Harris reacting to somebody who said she wrote a cookbook. And of course, Kamala Harris is a foodie. She's like, oh my God, I need to buy that food book or cookbook, food book, cookbook. Can you imagine Trump doing it? Yeah. Then they went to the Gray restaurant. And at the Gray, oh, that's the rally. Where do I have the Gray restaurant? I don't have it. Okay, great. So at the Gray restaurant, it was a volunteer event. So, and I want to read out what Kamala Harris said there because it was not shown on television. It was not written about. I didn't have that information yesterday when I was writing you that newsletter. So Kamala Harris said that, and to all the volunteers, I just wanted to come by and say thank you all. UFCW, everybody who is here for all the work you've been doing. You know ours, as we talk about it, because it's just what it is. We're a people-powered campaign. And it is about understanding the power of each one of us to lift folks up, to let them know they're seen, they're heard. I think there is so much that has happened in our country that makes people feel like they're alone, or they're not seen, or that we have nothing in common, when in fact, we all know we have so much more in common than what separates us. But you know, guys, but you guys are doing the work on the ground, and I cannot thank you enough. I was just with Governor Walz, Coach Walz. He just left. He's moving up onto North Carolina, but he sends his greetings as well, as does our president. And so there, what you did, volunteers, right? They're working for the Harris-Walz campaign. And so a lady asked her to call her daughter because her daughter is a big fan of Kamala Harris. And so that's what she did. Take a look. Here's the video.
Oh, I'm so proud of it. I'm here with your mom and we're talking.
The more you, that was a short video. So what she said in that video, let me read it out. She spoke to, So anyway, she said, I'm here with your mom. How are you doing? And so on and so forth. And then they went on FaceTime. So it was a real conversation, real interaction, you know, not a PR stunt. As you may recall, whenever, like, let's say Trump goes to those infamous, you know, restaurants, right? He goes to name any chain. He goes there. And then people want to hug him and they want to pray with him. And it's constant PR and it's constant videos. And so it looks kind of settled, you know, and set. Now, campaign has not been promoting those videos or photos. It's everything that we got from either bystanders or the pool reports or people who were just there, right? So it's authentic. I like the authenticity. Certainly it is a campaign. They are on campaign trail. There's, you know, nothing that I would deny in that regard, but it certainly looks more authentic and feels more authentic than the opposite, right? The alternative. So let's talk about the Harris rally in Savannah. I just showed you by accident this picture. So it was packed, 7,500 people, a new way forward. And, you know, they claim, oh, she can't speak without the teleprompter. She can't do this. She can't do that. She was speaking by herself. She was literally talking about the plans. So let's analyze it. First video I want to show you is how she started her speech and how she was so happy to be back in Savannah, Georgia.
Good afternoon, Savannah. Good afternoon. Oh, it's good to be back in Savannah. Good afternoon.
Yeah, you tried to listen to Cooking with Kamala, but the video was not very good. Also, Rosemary, maybe you're interested in that. There's also Italians for Kamala Harris, and there's a bunch of cooks too. And so, but it is highlighted by, guess what? Nancy Pelosi. So I wasn't really, eager to promote that. But second video, she talked about putting the working class and middle class people forward as opposed to Donald Trump's plans. Take a look.
And unlike Donald Trump, I will always put the middle class and working class families first. Always. I come from the middle class. I know what I'm talking about.
We're not going back. Now, then she talked about Project 2025 and specifically abortions and the ban on abortions.
And he would create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. It's right there in Project 2025. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
They're out of their minds. And Rosemary says, I read today that the last time presidential campaigns went to Savannah, Georgia was 30 years ago. Wow. Well, I think Georgia then should be on the line. Now, she also talked about fighting for democracy, and she also mentioned Gaza. Now, there were a couple of protesters that were escorted out. They were there with the Palestinian flag. So she certainly did address the subject. So let's take a look.
Hold up for a second. Let me just say something. Let me just say something. We are fighting for a democracy. Everyone has a right and should have their voices heard. I am speaking now, but on the subject, I will say this. The president and I are working around the clock. We've got to get a hostage deal done and get a ceasefire done now.
And Keith, to your point, teleprompter debate is stupid. There's nothing wrong with writing and reading a speech. What matters is delivery. It's not a memory contest. Certainly, you know, and they're delivering so many speeches. I was at the White House where President Biden had to deliver 5 of them. Does he have to remember all of them? No. And he's announcing people and who is in the crowd and had to turn around and, you know, wave and all that kind of stuff. This is part of the job. Now, what they're attacking is the teleprompter thing because they're projecting, right? It's always with MAGA, same as with Russia, by the way. It's the same approach. Whatever is wrong with you, you claim it's wrong with the other party. So projecting much, what's wrong with the teleprompter? Who knows? And then she laughed by, or finished her remarks by energizing the crowd. Take a look.
So, Savannah, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, God bless you and God bless the United States of America.
And when we fight, we win. And when we clips, take out clips from interviews, we have a live broadcast. Now, speaking of clips, let's go to the CNN interview. First of all, and Keith, by the way, probably or maybe somebody else. No, must be somebody else. Sorry. Who works in television? Tell me, is this setup correct in terms of lighting? Also, people started talking about today that why wasn't her chair elevated? Whenever you're on CNN, you make sure that all the anchors are at the same height or the same level. And here it was not, not the case. Certainly they were at a restaurant. But in terms of lighting, the lighting came from one side, not frontal. On Dana Bash, the lighting was frontal. So people have kept discussing it in the press, in the media, online, that certainly CNN could have, should have. But who knows? I'm just sharing what I hear. I certainly thought the lighting was kind of off. She must win this. JDB is scary. Yeah. Yeah, she energizes us. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Martin Luther King, "Have a Dream" was written. I just hate that the media nonsense has been given oxygen to credibility. Yeah, and that's my whole point. I will read out how I analyze that whole interview. If you have the newsletter, you read it there. So I'll share my 2 cents. But certainly, that interview could have been an email. So, first clip. Kamala Harris started talking about the main difference, really, between the Harris-Walz campaign and the Trump-Vance campaign. One is to unite people, one is to show that we're against each other. And somehow we're so bad that we have to be ashamed of ourselves. Take a look.
You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do?
Okay, so I'm going to save you from Dana Bash and her questions, really reciting a lot of MAGA questions on Twitter, a lot of conspiracies, a lot of hateful comments on how, at that point, why wouldn't CNN allow for Trump to interview Harris and Harris to interview Trump? Because you're just reciting the comments. Now, guess what? Kamala Harris can also recite the comments that liberals have against Trump. So if that is the intention and you're looking for a viral event, may I suggest this? So they can just interview each other. Because certainly I can trust Kamala Harris to shut them up. Now, she quickly fact-checked the notion about Medicare and Medicaid. Take a look.
Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now.
And now, the weirdest, the most unnecessary question was about Kamala Harris turning black. I mean, Dana Bash, this is your special.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
Yeah. That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about.
Dana, what were you expecting with that question? I'm just genuinely curious. Not like Tucker Carlson. I'm just asking and doing angle. I have no angles. What was that waste of oxygen there? What was also the waste of oxygen you, as a woman, asking Tim Walz that he didn't mention the exact method of IVF? He did IUI, right? And he said IVF. So he wasn't precise. What did they use with his wife 16 or whatever 20 years ago? What was it? Would you be okay if somebody would ask you that? Or your ex-husband, how you had kids? Like, why are we degrading ourselves and our attention and our time and what we spend this time, listening to and consuming? Why are we consuming trash? So what I felt yesterday is the same thing as if I went to, name a chain, fast food, and I would eat this greasy, whatever, and you're like, oh, it's fast. It's sort of, maybe juicy, whatever. And afterwards, you feel just like, oh God, what pill can I take to forget about it? Breaking news, you were looking for breaking news, you got broken news. Constantly fishing kind of reminds me also on Don Lemon interviewing Elon Musk. You know, if you recall, when at that point Elon Musk had so many issues, as much as he has now, by the way, and you could just nail him from point to point, but he was fishing for those little headlines and got shut down. So same story here. Opposite, of course, you know, opposite sides of the spectrum politically. But when you're fishing for that headline, you'll never get that damn headline. Try to open people up. You know, I submit my questions as to what I want to ask Kamala Harris, so I'll share it with you at the next town hall. Okay, next video. Walz talked about how he is proud of his family, of Gus, of Hope, and also of Gwen, his wife. Now, the question was framed as to, were you surprised that your son went viral? You know, certainly that was Dana's thing. But he twisted around, and so he made actually a very good, significant point. Take a look.
Governor, a moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you know, you try and protect your kids, you know, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is, talking about the era we're in, is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that there was I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last.
And so, and then Dana asked Tim Walz her second and last question to him, was about these conspiracies and really hateful comments about him serving. And so, can he define his service? Take a look.
If it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
One other.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not this, it's going to be that, right? Or we can just quote Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Do what you feel is right, because you're going to be criticized anyway. I'm paraphrasing. So it's been always that way. And I'm very, very happy that he already understands that. He's just entering the national and also international arena in terms of speeches and interviews. He's going to the interest is just going to grow. And when they win, it's going to be even bigger. So I'm really happy that he understands it and fully understands that. The issue I had with the interview was the questions were stale prior to 2020 election and unsubstantial. We learned nothing from this interview that Kamala hasn't already said in the campaign. Yeah, it was just about, he said this, what would you say? You know, it was sort of like an interview as you had two people that are divorcing each other and you just want to have some juicy comments, how they're going to poop at each other. And that's what I'm saying. When I say, whenever Trump talks or there's a debate, it's a poop throwing competition. People say, oh, you know, don't call it that way. It is a poop throwing competition. And by the way, even if Joe Biden and I think Kamala Harris, even if they're not participating in this competition, certainly Trump is thinking that is a competition. He just throws poop. That's all he can do. So, and that the society, right, the MAGA Twitter or whatever you call it, also is a replica of his character and his behavior. That's all they can do, right? That's why often, and it's very sad that often these days you can't even really be sure, is that a bot harassing you online, or is it a MAGA folk or whoever, right? How sad is that, really? That we don't even know, is that a programmed shit show, or is that a person that has been programmed and it's that keyboard warrior? That is really, really sad. I love that quote. Yeah, it's really true. She didn't even ask questions about Tim Walz has done as a governor, because it was not the agenda. The agenda was not that. So last video, before I kind of share what I think about it, but I have it written, blame me. I don't have a teleprompter, but I have a phone, and we're going to read it off of it. Lastly, I think they thought this will be the big hoorah, is how Joe Biden told Kamala Harris that he's stepping out. The weirdest thing, I know you watched already the interview, so it's not like a breaking news, but the weirdest thing was, did you ask him to endorse you, or did he already, offer to endorse you? Was it between, who was that? Was that between Kamala Harris and Jesus Christ? And so Biden had to think whom he's going to endorse? What are you talking about? Are you this? Did you hit your head? Or did you really start breathing the MAGA air that there's nothing left? God, Jesus. Take a look.
Military. Are those incredible?
Wrong. Too early. Okay, take a look.
Here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, are you sure? And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you.
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest. I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
To this, I would add also that Joe Biden has been a very loyal VP for Obama. I think more loyal than Obama is now. Oh, geez, when she talks so calm, I get calm too. Time to stop being scared. Indeed, I can't wait to be normal, right? And that is personally what I'm trying to do, is to show that they're actual news, that it's not this he said, she said crap show. There are a lot of actual news. And unfortunately, mainstream media is not reporting on it. That's how this whole idea of the newsletter came about, and those live streams. Because in all transparency, I have been harassing my family with my, like sending messages on WhatsApp. We have a group. And I'll say, did you hear this? This is the news. This is the news. And they're like, oh my God, can you bother somebody else? And so I started doing the live streams. And I'm not bothering you. How lucky are we? Kamala has been the most, yeah, I read that. Fishing for pass the torch drama, the media craves. Yeah, indeed, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So what I think about it personally, I think the interview provided insight into the Harris-Walz campaign's positions on key issues and their responses to criticism and misinformation, despite the questions containing a considerable amount of bias aimed at generating sensational headlines. The discussion effectively highlighted the campaign's stance on important topics. And by the way, all of it that it turned out to be useful is only on Kamala and Tim Walz, right? They made it useful. Questions were useless. So content would have been useless too. You know, my biggest takeaway is that she's trustworthy and she's calm and she's wise and she understands what she's talking about, and she's not rushing to impress us, which is even more so impressive and more so rare. And I like that style. You know, as for me, I don't need a show. I don't evaluate a speech on how many times people got up and started clapping. There are certainly different speeches and they serve different purposes, but I liked Clinton's, for instance, speech at the DNC that didn't have standing ovation as much as I liked Michelle Obama's speech. Very different. But they serve different purposes. And I like it when, you know, like when you eat food and you you know, you eat it and it's salty and it's spicy and it's this and it has a bunch of flavors rather than it's just salty, right? So at the DNC, I liked how people were different and how they tickled me in a different way. So I kind of like it. You know, you don't bother us. We enjoy perspective and honesty. Thank you. Thank you. I think there could have been more questions for both of them, seemed to me, one side to Kamala. Yeah, I really feel like it was unfair towards Kamala Harris because it didn't open her up, neither as a person, nor as a VP, neither as an upcoming president or the nominee now. But it completely ignored Tim Walz. He has been reduced. And that's what I really hate. When people, you know, perhaps you can relate when you were perhaps in any situation and somebody told you or showed you your place, right? Or said, no, don't dream that big, don't do this, don't do that. This is you, that's your level. And they reduce you. When you feel reduced to somebody's opinion of you, that is what hurts the most. I felt that Tim Walz was reduced to talking about the viral moment with his son and about the negative stuff from the stupid comments from JD Vance. That's all he was there for? Nothing about his accomplishments in Minnesota, nothing about him actually supporting VP Harris and being a strong male, you know, strong man that supports a woman and is not feeling weak next to a strong woman. He didn't feel that he had to outshine her yesterday. He didn't feel like he had to outperform her and fight for this limelight. He was supporting system, and that made him look great and strong. Now, for Dana, maybe she forgot that he will be there. Maybe she really thought he is that support system who's just going to sit there. But that's shame on her rather than on him. So, okay, you guys see each other's names. I unfortunately don't. Trump has damped down not just the country, but the entire world, and this is not a hyperbole. Indeed, indeed. I really feel like the media is not performing. We're not doing journalism. We're doing stenography, and then we're doing a copy-paste from Twitter. I Google my name, and I'm like in every single article because people are referencing to my tweets. And I'm like, why am I going viral on some, you know, Daily Mail? Oh, because they use my tweet. Is that journalism? Really? You're using my tweet? Like, that's all you did for research? God, Jesus. Okay. Now, in terms of feedback, and I shared it with you today, so if you want to throw up, here's your chance. New York Times, that was their takeaway, right? Harris offered few specifics of her own policies on day one plans. Now, she was never asked about those policies. The question was, what are you going to do on day one? You know, I wish she would just say, you know, use the bathroom, brush my teeth. What is this talk about day one? Do you ever remember what presidents do on day one? First of all, at the White House, they are there at 4:30 p.m. What are you going to do on day one? What is that stupidity? Why are we focusing on day one? She said she had no regrets about defending Biden's competency for the job and evaded questions about her race and gender. I know it's not Sunday, but go to church and pray because you're full of shit and hate. Tim Walz, who sat alongside Harris through the interview, spoke proudly of the viral moment with his son, but he did not engage on questions about Republican attacks on his military record. Did you want him to do the dance? Or start pretending he's shooting around so you're trusting that he served? What did you want him to do? Yikes. Now, but what's worse, that's their analysis of 2024 election. I want to pinpoint one specific moment here. They say that Harris and Trump both have to have plans to address America's affordable housing shortage. Hers include tax cuts and a benefit for first-time buyers, and his include deportations and lower interest rates. So deportations, per New York Times, is now a version of how to solve the housing crisis? Maybe, just maybe, how we can solve the misinformation is just by closing down New York Times and the like. Now, that's how Trump reacted. I just saw Comrade Kamala Harris answer a very weakly phrased question. A question that was put in more a matter of defense than curiosity. By her answer, rambled incoherently. That's projecting, and declared her values haven't changed. On that, I agree. Her values haven't changed. The border is going to remain open, not closed. There will be free health care for illegal aliens, sanctuary city, no cash bail, gun confiscation, zero fracking. I hope he's not using forks at Mar-a-Lago. You know, just give him a spoon, because with this, scary. I mean, fork can be a weapon. Now, his campaign today emailed, or yesterday, Harris Walz CNN flop. Here's what you missed. After 39 days of silence, Kamala Harris and her safety blanket, Timothy Walz. Now, they call him Timothy for some reason. I mean, I understand that his full name is that. They think is that sort of like hurting him. Why? Finally sat down with CNN, and it was so bad her handlers will never let her do another interview again. Handlers? Handlers. Is that racist, or are you just stupid? I hope you're stupid. Just hoping for you. But again, not Sunday, but just prayer. You know, just a little prayer. His tweets are a visit to psychodelusions. I know. 100 days is a more reasonable question. Indeed. As I saw someone mention, all you can do on day one is executive orders, and it's usually to end something the former administration did. Obviously, she isn't planning to do that, so it's a stupid question. Indeed. That's what, remember that secret video with the Heritage Foundation guy about Project 2025, and he said we already drafted thousands of executive orders for Trump to sign on day one? Dana, that's for you. Mainstream media in their own bubble. Yeah, and unfortunately, we're sharing this bubble, and it stings. Okay, so enough of this. Now let's talk about Trump in Wisconsin. I promised you if it's new, I'm going to share it, so a few clips, if we can digest it. First, he talked about, that's infamous clip, bacon-Winton problem. I don't know what he talked about. Maybe you can help me.
You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem.
I don't know. I don't want to even get into it. It's bacon-Winton problems. Then he got himself back into the doo-doo talking about black jobs.
Because the jobs that are, the people that are coming in are just taken. And it's going to start with the black population. African Americans are losing their jobs. And I don't know if you heard the latest statistic that of the jobs that these people created, which is very little, every single job was taken, about 107% was taken by illegal immigrants. There's been no job creation from them.
107%, that's the business guru? That's whose books folks were buying? Okay, 107%. then he mentioned the main point of his thing in Wisconsin, that he is not weird. He is not weird. Tim Walz is weird.
You get a lot of those questions because Minnesota, I mean, they picked this guy. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's weird. No, he's a weird guy. He's a weird dude. You know.
How hurt are you? A lot. A lot. Very hurt. Also, he talked about his fabulous relationship with Putin, which I think we have to. You know, people say, why do you share clips? I don't share clips. This is already not clips for entertainment. This is evidence. Evidence. Okay? Now, this here is evidence.
Donation anymore. Think of it. What would the world be like if Russia didn't do what they did, and they would have never done it? I used to speak to Putin about it. I had very good relationship.
He used to, you know, speak to Putin. Yeah, right. Now, this is a longer clip. Again, evidence. Remember the disgusting behavior at Arlington National Cemetery? Remember Trump's campaign folk engaging in physical altercation with folks protecting Arlington National Cemetery? Remember Arlington National Cemetery issuing a statement that they did violate federal law? Then they sort of put everything on the woman to file a report, and then she felt that she's going to be harassed by the Trump campaign, so she pulled it back. I wish Pentagon or whoever was standing behind that woman and was not really up to her character. And I totally understand if you don't want to face this music, right? Because that music is disgusting. But to make things worse, yesterday he also was at the where is it? Michigan. He was in Michigan, where he started talking about him going to Arlington, lying about it. So this here is evidence.
Military. Those incredible parents and sisters and brothers, they asked me to go yesterday to Arlington, and I did. And while I was there for a long time. It was very tough to get to because I was not in a good position to get there. It was very far away, but I did. I made it and I got there right on time, and I spent a lot of time there. And while I was there, those families that asked me to be there, as they said, 3 families plus 1 soldier who was horrifically injured, both legs and an arm. And they asked me if I would be there, so I went. And while we were there, they said, could you take pictures over the grave of my son, my sister, my brother? Would you take pictures with us, sir? I said, absolutely, I did. And then I said farewell. I said goodbye. And last night I read that I was using the site to politic, that I used it to politic. This all comes out of Washington, just like all of these prosecutors come out of Washington. They all come out. They send their prosecutors into the DA's office. They send them into the Attorney General's office. These are bad people we're dealing with. So I go there. They ask me to have a picture, and they say I was campaigning. I don't need – the one thing I get is plenty of publicity. I don't need that. I don't need that.
And as you know him, when he's projecting, if he says, I don't need publicity, I didn't go there for campaigning, all you have to understand that he did go there for publicity, and he does need campaigning. Or he went there for campaigning, and he does need publicity. You know, and also, like, please take a picture above the grave or at the grave of my son, my sister, my brother. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Also, this distinguished gentleman, here's him before the rally. Take a look. Grandpa wears the pants right under the armpits, and that's him after the rally.
I got my ball to my butthole, yeah. Oh my God, what did I do?
What'd you do in Michigan, hon? What did you do in Michigan? Was that so hard? If one rally takes you out this way, how are you going to survive at the Oval Office? One might wonder. Okay, here's some weird ads. I'm on Drew's social. getting the weirdness. Here's some fun ads, which is crazy that the people are paying for it. This one is, again, should be evidence. Get out of jail free coin. You can order a coin, get out of jail free. And there's like a little angel, looks like Trump. How crazy, though. And then they're selling Fool Aid. Order today for September 10th debate. It's a Fool Aid. People are nuts. Now, who's also doing trolling, but actually a very good trolling, is former President Barack Obama. Here you go. He said how it started, how it's going 10 years later, and it's still a good look. Hey, the tan suit. I hope Kamala Harris accepts her presidency in a tan suit. Now, Jack White, right? He put it up on his Instagram that Trump used his music, right? He said, "Oh, don't even think about using my music, you fascist. Lawsuit coming from lawyers about this to add to your 5,000 others. Have a great day at work today, Margot Martin," because she put that up. And as long as I'm here, I double F you, Donald, for insulting our nation's veterans in Arlington, you scum. You should lose every military family's vote immediately from that, if anything makes sense anymore. So he also used a song from Dolly Parton yesterday. So there's a bunch of lawsuits from musicians coming, and they predominantly say they will donate it to Harris Wall's campaign. Dangers loose. Yeah, you're not your freak. The same way as last time, golfing. He never worked a day in his presidency. Executive time meant he didn't even get briefed until noon or afternoon. Being president meant giving his work to others to do, or go on cultural war. Yeah, no, I agree. And also, from what I hear from folks who covered him at the White House is that they loved it. They could enter the Oval Office anytime and just chit chat with him, and that's all that he did with reporters, predominantly reporters from China. They love it, so they could just chit chat with him and probably also sway his opinion, into a certain way. Now, who might endorse Kamala Harris, which completely pisses off Newsmax. And if it pisses off Newsmax, there might be truth to it. Certainly, true or not, it is already entertaining. Take a look.
Guess who might just be on the fence and thinking about endorsing Kamala Harris? George W. Bush. Remember that guy? Yeah. Word is he's contemplating an endorsement of Kamala Harris. There was a rumor during the DNC that there was some momentum that he was going to do it during the DNC. And now there's speculation that he might do it before the election at some point. What a disgrace. How dare he, after what he brought this country through and what we're going through right now, things that he doesn't have to deal with because he's rich and he's ensconced in a cocoon of comfort. The rest of us have to deal with this stuff. There are big signs that the Republican Party, the establishment, the Rhino, the country club set, are doing all they can to help Kamala. More than 200 Bush, McCain, Romney alums endorse Harris for president and criticize Trump, going out of their way to do this. And let's look at their endorsement of Harris. This is unnecessary. We jointly declare that we're voting for Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz this November. Abroad, Democratic movements will be irreparably jeopardized as Trump and his acolyte J.D. Vance kowtow to dictators like Vladimir Putin while turning their backs on our allies. We can't let that happen. They're not going to let it happen, right? They're not going to let it happen. 200 people from the swamp signed this.
Whoopsie daisy. Okay, true or not, entertaining. Now, who will not be endorsing Trump is this guy. I wonder why.
Will you be endorsing your former president? You were on the ticket with him last time around.
Well, Martha, I appreciate the question. And it should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
Oh, what happened? Didn't like the kook out? What happened? We all know what happened. He tried to kill him. Anyway, a readout. We watched some clips now. Back to real news. Readout. from Biden-Harris administration, which I bothered you with in an email yesterday, but in case you skipped it, here we go. The Biden-Harris administration is accelerating federal project reviews and permitting through a $560 billion investment in over 68,000 projects. Key actions include modernizing NEPA and EPA, expanding categorical exclusions, and streamlining processes for solar energy and broadband projects. These reforms aim to reduce review times, lower costs, and enhance infrastructure development while protecting the environment. So, please read the email from yesterday. If you are building something, if you want to change something, go ahead and read it. They have reduced processing times by, I think, threefold. So and it's really per department, and all the details are there. So if that's of an interest to you, please read that email from yesterday, because it's all there. Now, how about a palate cleanse? Because we watched this and now we need some happiness and wholesomeness and goodness, shall we? Mar-a-Lago, a private billionaire club. Kamala doesn't have that. Yeah. She also doesn't marry her ex-husband, and that kid's wife in that. VP Pence finally started listening to The Fly. The Fly was a reminder. Sometimes angels come as flies. Going good, Joe. True leadership. Yes. Now, palate cleanse. All right. I have a video for you of second gentleman in Arizona. So he visited a restaurant that 101-year-old Mrs. White still serves up. She still serves up delicious soul food and provides incredible service. Golden Rule Cafe is a Phoenix staple, and if you're in Arizona, I know Brandon is. Perhaps you have heard of it. He was so glad, he says, to get a taste of her homemade dishes. So take a look. This is Mrs. White at 101 years old, together with the second gentleman.
These are all your recipes?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them?
Yes, everyone. And I like to keep my food just like we open up. We open up in 64, and I like to keep it the same. And every time anybody come in and eat it, Miss White, your food tastes the same. And that's what I like.
How'd you pass down all the recipes and everything?
Well,
who's back there? The family?
Yeah, my granddaughter running. Oh, yeah, this is a blessing.
You're a blessing. You made our day. Thank you.
Y'all made our day.
So sweet, so sweet. Now, if we're looking for wholesomeness, we can't go without Team Wolves these days, right? I think we can agree. So here's him with the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper, getting food. Take a look. Here we go.
This guy has been telling me I'm not going to get a better shake anywhere in the country.
They say hush puppies. You make it. You said hush puppies. That's what you.
I do love hush puppies. No. You know I look like I like hush puppies. Thank you, guys.
Great to see
yeah.
you guys. All right.
You knew I needed just
think?
exactly that. I think it's great. I'm trying.
You have to use
All right,
the spoon. Here, give me a top.
So this is my first visit to Cookout. I got a mint chocolate chip.
Excellent. What do you think?
It's really good. Oh my God.
Governor, how does it feel to be in North Carolina?
It's great. It's great to be here with Governor Cooper. And I said the dynamic nature of North Carolina's economy, and I've had the chance to work with Governor Cooper for a long time, really inspiring. And I think an economy that's really working for the middle class, it's a good example here. And we're excited to bring the campaign and win down here. Thanks, folks.
Cute, right? How about for a palate cleanse? That was good. Now, from that, let's talk about FBI, but nothing bad. Just a reminder. So I did share that, but I have a bunch of teachers and those who are in education following me. So I wanted to remind you that they sent a memo today that FBI Safe Online Surfing Challenge is now available in both English and Spanish starting September 1st. in the news, as the new school year begins, the FBI is excited to offer its Safe Online Surfing (SOS) program in both languages. This free educational resource helps students learn about cyber safety and in an engaging way. So if you go on their website, which is sos.fbi.gov, the SOS Challenge has reached over 1 million students since its launch, and is also available to the public for broader access to cyber safety education. So if that's of an interest to you, go ahead and learn about it, okay? Now, I want to talk about something that I felt so fascinating, you know. Okay, let me read out comments before I switch the topic. I live in NC and cookout shakes are the bomb. Yeah, this was adorable. Love Governor Cooper. Yeah, I graduated in North Carolina, so I lived there. In contrast, it's wild because JD seems like a robot. Worse. Robots don't insult people. He does. Like, think about, I'm not talking about it because I really don't want to add, you know, like add some oxygen to this fire. But the point is, JD Vance posted the picture of a lady who ran for, I think, Miss Universe, and she had an unfortunate answer. She then thought about committing suicide because she was so embarrassed. Now he reposted her and claimed, oh, that's how Kamala Harris' interview is going to go. So, and then he was confronted today in an interview on television. He said, oh, this was just for shits and giggles. This is fun. This is how we, you know, keep it light. Keep it light? What are you talking about? That's disgusting. Okay, now, next thing I want to talk about, which is really important, I feel. So, at Fort Bliss, from August 5th to 16th of this year, over 4,000 U.S. Army soldiers took part in the largest bone marrow registry drive in Army history, known as Operation Ring the Bell. Here's their pictures. Spearheaded by Army Surgeon Christian Sutton, the campaign aimed to increase awareness and participation in the Department of Defense's Salute to Life program. Sutton stated, Operation Ring the Bell is a campaign to modernize and invigorate the Salute to Life program. It's important to me because it's an opportunity to directly impact and change both the military and my country to save lives. Now, Chad Balance, a senior recruiter for Salute to Life, echoed Sutton's sentiments, emphasizing the Army's potential impact. The impact would be profound if initiatives like Operation Ring the Bell were institutionalized. Balance said, shared his motivation, recalling, I started registering as many people as I could, telling them you could be somebody's cure. The drive has already saved 10 lives, demonstrating the significant difference soldiers can make through a simple saliva swab. Once a soldier understands how simple this program is and realizes the minimal impact it would have on their body, they recognize that we can all make a difference, Balance added. The Salute to Life program, active since 1991, has recruited over 1 million potential donors and facilitated more than 8,000 donations. So truly, U.S. Army is saving lives. I wanted to highlight that. Certainly, you don't hear that in mainstream media. I wish to interview this gentleman because there's so many people who would need that. And yeah, that's just recognize the impact. Yeah, you guys are talking about JD, so I'm not going to share those comments because it doesn't really fit here. Now, in terms of Pentagon, as I shared in yesterday's email and as I shared on Twitter, today Ukrainian delegation, so the defense minister came to Pentagon with the head of Zelensky's cabinet, Yermak, with other people. They came in. I have all the details in the email tonight, so you get all the names and all the, you know, if you're not doing the email, sign up free. Now, they came in to actually push United States to allow to strike across the border. Because one thing is to defend yourself, another thing is to prevent those attacks. And I will show you an example, what they did today. So, but first and foremost, Secretary of Defense, our Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, And wait. Let's talk about Ukraine. Yes. So Ukraine officials traveled to Washington, D.C. Sorry, I had to restart again here because it's my lineup. It's on my teleprompter, but it's my teleprompter moment, certainly. So Ukrainian officials push for U.S. approval to strike Russian targets. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Rustem Umerov, and President's Office head, Andriy Yermak, are now in Washington, D.C. with a list of Russian targets for long-range American weapons. So they said that during personal meetings with representatives of President Biden's administration, Ukrainian officials are presenting a list of opportunity targets in Russia, seeking to persuade the U.S. to lift restrictions on the use of long-range weapons. Now, sources note that without striking these targets, it will be challenging for Ukraine to shift the war in its favor. Now, a member of Ukrainian parliament said that there is really no difference, right? He says, quote, if we see strikes deep in Russian territory by American weapons as no more provocative than strikes near the border. Both are Russian territory, regardless of how deep the targets are, right? So the main idea is to prevent those attacks, because some cities, like Kharkiv, my birth city, where I grew up, where my parents grew up and lived, right? Where our house has been bombed 3 times. You know, I'm not going to go into details, but the cities are close to the border. So physically, there is no time to intercept those missiles. So all you can do is to prevent those strikes. For that, you need to strike inside Russia. U.S. has allowed it right by the border. Now, Russians are dumb, but not that dumb. They moved 90% of their equipment beyond that perimeter that U.S. allowed Ukraine to strike into. So now it is beyond, and that's what is Ukraine requesting. Now, in terms of what did happen today Russia was striking literally civilians. Take a look. So that's a house where people live. It's a high-rise building, and this building fell off too, like it collapsed.
Во! Ебать, дом опал. Ебать, упал кусок дома. Охуеть.
I'm not going to translate the comments, but they rescued a couple of people who were on the top before it collapsed. My favorite thing was a guy who was rescued, and he's just coming in with like a cigarette on the side of his mouth. He's like, oh, thank you guys for rescuing, and he continues smoking. So that's some Ukrainian spirit. But certainly what did happen is Zelensky, for instance, said that the Russian strike on Kharkiv directly on people is an ordinary house. All services are currently engaged in the rescue operation. I thank everyone who's helping to save lives at this moment. The strike was carried out using a Russian-guided aerial bomb, a strike that could have been prevented if our defense forces had the capability to destroy Russian military aircraft at their bases. We need strong decisions from our partners to stop this war or terror. This is an absolutely legitimate need. There is no rational reason to limit Ukraine's defense. We need long-range capabilities and the full implementation of air defense agreements for Ukraine. These are life-saving measures. Now, in this strike today on Kharkiv, 59 people were injured, 6 people died per national police. One of them is a 14-year-old child. Now, a minister of foreign affairs of Lithuania gave an interview. Take a listen.
You know, even though it sounds like a joke, but we're protecting Russian skies more. You know, Russian planes are better protected by the Western guarantees than Ukrainians. We have to ask ourselves a question: aren't we ourselves a part of this problem? So far, no Patriot batteries that have been promised to Ukraine in Washington have been delivered. No new ammunition packages have been delivered since June. The eastern flank is worried because we all understand if Ukrainians are not getting the assistance that they have been promised, that is a door open for Putin to continue.
Now you guys say EU says support longer range attacks into Russia for Ukraine's sovereignty. Yes, but it was vetoed by Slovenia and Hungary. So maybe I don't know something. I gladly stay corrected. Let's check. That's the latest I understood. One of the best Ukrainian Air Force pilots lost his life today. Yeah, in the F-16 that was shot, actually two very good pilots passed. Also, the head of Ukrainian Air Forces was let go today as a result. I will share more details when I know for certain. Certainly, it's very, very sad news. Now, in Pentagon, when confronted as to what will U.S. do in terms of permitting Ukraine to strike into Russia, that's what the deputy spokesperson said.
We continue to work with them when it comes to providing security assistance. The Patriot is quite a big system that we are sourcing different materials and component pieces from other countries to help Ukraine. I'd let Ukraine speak to that more specifically, but what I can tell you is they are getting a regular supply and support of security assistance from the United States and other, partners that are part of the UDCG. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You had other questions?
Expedite those deliveries given the recent massive attacks from Russia?
I think we've certainly expedited delivery of not just the Patriot, but other systems and capabilities to Ukraine, including reordering some orders by that were designated for other countries. We've prioritized Ukraine. So I'd actually push back on the fact that we haven't prioritized Ukraine as a country that needs it most.
Now, the foreign minister of Ukraine has claimed that Patriot systems have not been delivered yet, hence this question. So certainly. Now, a readout, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin met with Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov at the Pentagon to reaffirm U.S. support for Ukraine. Austin condemned recent Russian attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and emphasized the U.S. commitment to helping Ukraine defend itself. He praised Ukrainian forces for their resilience and readiness to counter Russian aggression ahead of the upcoming Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting at Ramstein Air Base. The U.S. will continue to lead in providing critical capabilities, including air defense systems. This follows a recent $125 million aid package, marking the 64th provision of U.S. military equipment to Ukraine. Now, it remains to be seen. I'm a little bit confused as to, they say it's a longer visit by the Ukrainian party. Now, it's Friday. We have Labor Day weekend. How is that visit progressing and continuing? Certainly, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what will result out of it. Certainly, it is urgent. Certainly, it is, very important. Now, in terms of also other meetings, Lloyd Austin, our Secretary of Defense, also met with, with the Romanian Defense Minister to discuss strengthening NATO and supporting Ukraine. They held discussions to emphasize the strong bilateral defense ties between the U.S. and Romania, their joint role within NATO, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. During the conversation, both leaders reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening defense of NATO, eastern flank, and pledged continued support for Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression. So also looking ahead, Austin and Tilvar expressed eagerness to further their collaboration and support through these channels. Now, as you may have heard, Jake Sullivan has been in China. He's back. He met with the Ukrainian delegation today, but the days prior, he was in China. So National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met on August 29th with President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. The meeting was part of ongoing efforts to maintain channels of communication and responsibly manage the relationship between the United States and the PRC. These two sides discussed further implementation of the commitments President Biden and President Xi made at the November 2023 Woodside Summit, including on counter-narcotics, military-to-military communication, and AI safety and risk. They also discussed cross-strait issues, Russia's war against Ukraine, and the South China Sea. Both sides welcomed ongoing efforts to maintain open lines of communication, including planning for a call between President Biden and President Xi in the coming weeks. From what I have heard, it's a tough meeting. China proclaims Taiwan as Chinese, and that's all about it. And they are still supporting Russia in their efforts to conquer Ukraine. So certainly, let's see what the next steps will be. Will there be any sanctions? Will there be any tariffs? So remains to be seen. I will inform you when this is a fact. Now, another country that recently held elections that were fraudulent, where the guy who did not win, he won only 31% of votes, remains in power. Of course, we're talking about Venezuela and Maduro. So international community condemns Venezuelan election, tampering, and repression. In the months since Venezuela's elections, Maduro has tampered with results, falsely claimed victory, and repressed dissent to maintain power. Despite calls for transparency, the National Electoral College and the Supreme Tribunal, today is the day, of Justice have failed to provide evidence supporting Maduro's win and instead have suppressed opposition voices. So the U.S. and international partners have condemned these actions, calling for electoral transparency, human rights respect, and the release of political prisoners. Now, my question is speeches, a lot of speeches. There's statements, there's readouts. Was Maduro going to suddenly flip and say, oh, I'm for democracy, I'm stepping down? On the other hand, what are we expecting, right? Are we expecting the United States or international community to go into Venezuela and just take it over? No. So sanctions. Sanctions is one way about it. But then also you are then punishing the people of Venezuela because certainly their economy will go down, right? So that is a tit for tat type of thing. So let's follow up what's going to do, but what that is going to result in. But for now, this is talk, all talk. Now, what is less than talk? Remember in Afghanistan, Taliban, right, announced that women are not allowed to look at men or speak in public. So that notion continued, believe it or not, in Sweden, where Afghani people or any Muslim nation that embraces the law, Sharia law, wanted to do the same thing in Sweden. And so their government stepped up Sharia law, right? So Islam needs to adapt to Swedish values. Muslims who do not integrate should leave the country. Honor killings, clan structures, beheadings, the stoning of women, the Sharia law do not belong here, says Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden, Ebba Busch. So a big thing in Sweden because they did welcome a lot of refugees. And so now they try to impose the European sort of standards and values. It has nothing to do with religion, but certainly such crazy things. Stoning of women, not allowed to speak in public, looking at men. So they're trying to stop it before it begins. All right. Sanctions causes refugees. Yep. Venezuela has an electoral college. Believe it or not. Even Russia probably has. Better Biden than Trump. Yeah. Venezuela is also a member of OPEC. Yes. Aren't they? What sanctions would be in play? That is the question, right? That is the question. The area is heating up with the tension. Poland speaks loudly against Belarus activities at Ukraine-Belarus common border. Indeed. And there's also, I talked to several people about, the strategy. And then people who, one thing is you look at Ukraine, civilians are hit. The city I grew up in is hit. You're like, why? Why can't they strike? Why can't we do? Another story, if you look at it from this angle as to how can we prohibit a world war? Because when the war starts, now it doesn't matter who started it. It's difficult to finish it. It's easier to start a war than to finish it. Read the books, watch the documentaries, Google it, Wikipedia it. It's a fact. Look at what happens in Israel, right? Hamas did a thing on October 7th, a massacre. They took hostages. Now Israel did what they did in Gaza, trying to cleanse it. Now they have prisoners. Now it is reported that those prisoners are tortured. Now, when the war starts, the torture and violence will follow. It's the mentality you get into the war zone. People who are fighting in Ukraine, who are at the front lines, when I speak to them, when my family speaks to them, those are not the people we knew. They're harsh, but there's no way around it. You have to become that person. They're harsh. They're, not, they don't allow for feelings because that's a way to survive it. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma that's kept in because that's the way to go about it. That's why it was reported, for instance, today in Russia, right? People who managed to return from the war. There were 107 women killed by those who returned from the war. So they're returning back. They have the weapons. They don't have the treatment. They're not, also they're former incarcerated people for a reason, murderers and killers. So they just go on the killing spree because they're now considered warriors and sort of like, heroes. So the big issue in Russia, but also issue in Ukraine. You're running out of people, running out of man, and how is that going to end? But also, what is Biden doing not to escalate it further? Because if you miss that moment when it goes further, that's what you're going to regret, for years to come. Because you need one spark, one misunderstanding. That's why, for instance, we talk about China, Indo-Pacific. That's why Solomon is traveling to China. Does he want to talk to Xi Jinping and all of them? No, probably not really the company you want to, have a beer with. But you need that open conversation. You need that open conversation because once you miss that tiny little misunderstanding with Indo-Pacific, and now we're dealing with cultures. If we talk about China and you talk about American culture, Western cultures, very different ways of communication, very different interpretation of even gestures. So it's so fragile, and it's so important to be wise and rather be slow than being fast. Having said all that, now think about if Trump comes in. For whatever I described, Trump is completely the reverse. That's the guy who acts right away, who blabbers, who's just loud, right? He's just everything, right? Kamala Harris is the opposite. So if we think about foreign policy, Kamala Harris is the safest bet. The safest bet. And I understand people tell me, well, Tim Walz doesn't have foreign policy experience. Does he have to? Google what vice president does. Google it. It's national. First of all, the description is not available, but because it was never planned to. There were presidents who didn't have a vice president, but it's mostly focusing on internal, on national issues. And here he will succeed, same as he succeeded in Minnesota, because he knows what he's dealing with. He knows the Congress folks. He works with them. So he has that advantage that J.D. Vance does not have. You're not dealing with Silicon Valley. You're dealing with Congress folks that are coming from all the states. Tim Walz is liked. So now in terms of foreign policy, you want somebody who is slow rather than fast. You can fight me as much as you want. I worked in politics. I worked in diplomacy. I have been trained where they said, when they ask you how are you, and you go, yeah, I'm good. You're representing a country with your, funny, like a happy-go-lucky thing. Hey, I'm good. You are saying your country is good. Nobody's asking you how you are doing. People are asking how your country is doing. And this, can be tested in different questions that have nothing to do with politics, really. So in that way, Kamala Harris is the safest bet. Trump, you know, either he's going to sell us out or he's going to bow down to dictators, you know. So the choice is just like, are we going to down with a fight or without a fight? Like Putin said before invading Ukraine, you know, and I'll translate, like it or not, relax and enjoy. Certainly he's referring to rape. So that's the choice. You go down with the fight, or you know, just sell us out and we go as we go. That is the scariest option. So when you see Biden acting slow, understand where he's coming from. Now, Ukraine needs to defend itself. And Ukraine showed by invading, or this incursion into Kursk, that those red lines that Putin claimed you cannot cross are bullshit. He's only protecting himself. He's only protecting Moscow, St. Petersburg, and most importantly, his palaces. That's the only thing he's interested in. So the red lines are not existing. So allow Ukraine to strike. Deliver the Patriots. Finish that damn war. Because Ukraine will not hold on longer. They're running out of people. I'm not going to share the details that I see in the reports because I can't. But you have to finish the war. And now is a good point to let them strike and prevent. And of course there will be negotiations. But those negotiations better happen under Biden. Better happen before November. Start talking about something. Because God forbid Trump is elected. Ukraine needs a point before that. They need a decision before that. And I really hope that even when Kamala Harris is elected, that she keeps Joe Biden on a speed dial. I really, really hope. And I think she knows. And I think the way she said that when he stepped out, I thought about him first. That's completely the opposite from that Caitlin Collins from CNN. I called Trump from the, you know, in the back seat of my cab. I wanted to get my headline. That's media. That's media. Another thing is diplomacy. I, for once, inside myself, fight between the media and diplomacy because I'm all for diplomacy and common sense. But sometimes they're like, why don't you do this? It will go viral business-wise. That's stupid what you're doing. But I have dignity, so my dignity decides, you know. But think about diplomacy. Don't judge somebody when they're slow. Judge them when they're fast. So, got around good news so far. Yeah. All right, Brandon. All right. Have a good night. I see your point. It's difficult. You know, it's difficult. You see people dying in Ukraine. It has to be done yesterday. But with the Kursk incursion, there is no but in terms of allowing Ukraine to strike in. Statesperson. Yeah. Weisgard has been caught posting misinformation before. I'm not sure that the Sweden statement is true. No source other than X. I double-checked it from Insight. Looks true. But Weisgard or whatever they're called, also Nexta, there are stories behind those folks. Not sure about the Weisgard, but certainly they post a lot of misinformation. There's also a bunch of accounts that claim to be working for the White House that are viral, that constantly post misinformation too. So, you know, it's very, very important to prove. You're right, I agree. Ukraine is smart. They will act with restraint. Don't forget, Ukraine is in the war for years. You are smart, and at some point you may also run out of F's to give. Deservingly so. Deservingly so. If you're tortured for years, I'm not sure you will be caring about ethics. So before anything crazy, help Ukraine win, help Ukraine get the shot out of their country that does not belong there. You know, we can start fighting about Crimea, but get the heck out of Donetsk, Donbass, get the hell out. Get the hell out. You have nothing to do there. As much as you twist the history in terms of, you know, Russians, they ban in Wikipedia, they have Rupedia, where they have alternative history facts. You know, like United States has nothing to do with World War II. Russians won it. Ukraine had nothing to do with World War II. Oh, really? Oh, really? Before U.S. stepped in, nobody was winning. Come on now. Was running out of resources. Google it. World support should help. Yes. Donbas is Ukraine. Donbas is Ukraine. I remember traveling there as a kid. You know, I did sports, so we did it all everywhere. We traveled for competitions. It never crossed my mind that it would be, you know, occupied or, you know, yikes. Crimea invasion and land grab happened a long time ago, 2014, under Obama, and nothing happened. Yep, we remember. We remember. That's why when you ask Ukrainians, they're not so fond of Obama because he didn't protect. But you know, it's a story for another day. I think I'm done for now. I'm done. Oh, a bit of proclamations. Okay, so you're going to read that in your email today, but real quick. President Biden has declared September 2024 National Sickle, that's how you say it, Cell Awareness Month, highlighting the need to address SCD, a severe condition affecting about 100,000 Americans, especially Black and Hispanic communities. Efforts include FDA-approved gene therapies, expanded Medicare and Medicaid access, and enhanced support through community organizations and data collection. The president calls for increased awareness and support for ongoing research and treatment advancements. Also, President Biden declared September as a National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. The disease affects nearly 300,000 American men each year, making it the second leading cause of cancer death among men. The president honors those lost to prostate cancer and emphasizes the need to continued research and support. His administration is advancing the fight through the Cancer Moonshot Initiative, increased funding for research, and expanded healthcare access. He encourages all to get screened, support ongoing efforts, and join in raising awareness to combat prostate cancer. Also, President Biden has proclaimed September as National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, with nearly 20,000 new cases this year. Ovarian cancer remains the deadliest female reproductive cancer. This month, we honor those we've lost, support survivors, and thank caregivers and researchers. The administration is advancing the fight through, again, Biden Cancer Moonshot, new funding for research and expanded healthcare coverage, including patient navigation services and reduced drug costs. Let's raise awareness, support early detection, and push for more effective treatments to save lives. He also declared September, we're busy in September, huh? National Preparedness Month, emphasizing the need for resilience in the face of climate crisis. His administration is investing $50 billion in climate resilience and streamlining disaster relief efforts. Now, all Americans are encouraged to prepare and stay informed at ready.gov, or for Hispanic-speaking folks, listo.gov. So if you live in any coastal areas or anywhere, just go ahead, you know, read out, inform yourself. It's a really good website. So ready.gov or listo.gov. And now finally, Labor Day proclamation, our final news for tonight. Labor Day, President Biden calls for solidarity with American workers and celebrates the crucial role of labor unions in ensuring workers receive respect and fair treatment. He urges all Americans to honor this day with activities that reflect the significance of working people in shaping the nation's success. So, on this note, I wish you a very happy, safe, and sane Labor Day. Again, if we have news, I'm going to be live. If we don't have news, I'm not going to bother you on this, last summer weekends. So enjoy it, whether alone with your family, loved ones, friends, whatever floats your boat. Stay safe. Do what makes you feel good. Don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt yourself either. Monday, I definitely will be live because there will be, on Labor Day, there will be a rally with President Biden and Kamala Harris. So I'm going to cover it. Maybe we do watch party. We'll see how you guys want it. But definitely something will be on Monday, Saturday, Sunday. There's nothing on the agenda for neither in the White House. So we'll see. If we have news, I'll be live and I'll cover it. If not, I don't want to waste your time. Subscribe to Olga's newsletter. She puts in a lot of work to inform and gives it away for free. If you have it, $5 to support Real Journalists, show appreciation, and join for town hall. Thank you, Keith. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you. Here's a thing for the letter. Here we go. Oh, have to remove a comment. Wait a second. Okay, subscribe to newsletter, onest.substack.com. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. And you're all saying thank you. Happy Labor Day. Watch party would be fun. Yeah, so if you guys want to have a Labor Day watch party, I don't know what you guys are doing. Maybe you were, you're like, get out. So I post a thing too. First, let's find out what the time will be for the rally. Once I know, I do a voting thing. Yes, Keith is in. Good night. Have a great weekend. Eliza said yes. Stay alert and strong, and thank you. Thank you. All right, we're finishing up with our thank you party. Everybody's laughing already. Okay, have a good night. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Labor Day. Stay safe and see you soon.